Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conversations with Sekani, a podcast for people in their 20s who are trying to figure out life and not get lost along the way. Life has a way of changing us through moments we never planned for loss, transition, uncertainty, and sometimes those moments force us to rediscover who we are and where we are meant to be, right? So today's guest is someone who has not only lived through deep personal transformation, but has also dedicated her life to help others navigate change with intention and healing. Joining me today is Tashia Martin, a licensed social worker, author, and healing centered leadership coach. She is the founder of Restoring Legacy and the creator of the Rooted framework, a model designed to help individuals and leaders align their purpose, well being, and leadership in times of transition. Her journey through profound grief and renewal inspired her Amazon first new release, New Leaf, reflecting on life's transition, where she shares tools and reflection to help people grow through life's hardest season. Tashia, welcome to Conversations with Sekani. It's a pleasure to have you here.
I'm excited to be with you, Sekani.
All right. So yeah, we're talking about your personal journey, right? So your work today focuses on healing, centered leadership and transformation. So
Mhm.
what life experience actually, led you towards this path?
So I think, when we think about our life, we have to think as early as childhood. And so I'll say that my journey probably began as a little girl. And just seeing that I wanted to see the world differently and experience the world differently. And so I really got into I got into social work because I wanted to impact the way adults engage with children because the adults around us really influence our lives and our experiences. So that's how I really got into this work. But leading into healing centered leadership, I spent many years working in leadership, developing programs, managing teams, and putting together systems. And what I really noticed is that when the leaders are not in a good, healthy spot, then they can cause harm to their clients, to their staff members, and ultimately to the program and organization.
Mhm. Okay, so yeah, I want us to go through the moments you went through, right? You went through a very intense season of grief, losing
Mhm.
nearly 20 loved ones in a short period. How did that season change the way you see life and purpose?
So I began losing people in 2022 after COVID. And what was very unique about my experience is that I had clear cognizance about it. And so I would see maybe a week or 2 weeks in advance before the person died. And so it became a very spiritually traumatizing experience to go through this grief process. And so how that affected me is that I found it difficult to stay still. I found it difficult to be in crowds. So I developed social anxiety because I didn't want to be in groups of people and potentially know that someone is sick or dying. So it really affected how I showed up in the world because I'm typically like hey, like a let's go type of welcoming person. But then it really caused me to like shrink into a shell because I was so traumatized being around people. And so, as a leader, the way that really affected me is that I had to figure out how do I meet the goals? How do I continue to care for my people? How do I continue to care for myself? And I knew that I could not put myself on a back burner while doing this work. So, what I ended up having to do was to really lean in on my colleagues, to lean in on my staff, and trust them in their leadership and expertise while I really took a step back to take care of myself. And sometimes we forget to like disengage to take care of ourselves. If we don't take care of ourselves, we cannot do the things that we love to do. And so I had to prioritize that.
All right. So basically it's important to understand that even as leaders, we also need to take time to, understand ourselves and give ourselves the love that we actually deserve. Because I feel like most leaders don't do that, right? They feel like they're always supposed to be present. They never give themselves the chance to, self-reflect and show themselves so much love. So yeah. I think I took note of that
Yeah.
one actually.
And also, you have leaders who lack self-awareness, right? And so they come in with all of their pain and they trample on everybody else. Now you have a bunch of staff members who don't want to be around you, who quit their job. Now you don't have people working in your organization because you're now a crap leader. No one wants a crap leader. And so emotional intelligence is super important as a professional, as a leader, and just in our everyday life. Like if we don't show up with emotional intelligence, and that is our own self-awareness, how we manage the stresses that we're dealing with, but also how we are aware about how our behaviors, our actions, our words affect others around us. And when we can't even pay attention to the feelings that someone else is experiencing, that's poor emotional intelligence. And you can't lead people if you lack emotional intelligence. You can manage, you can, be a hammer, you can get things done, but the door is going to be revolving and people are going to be leaving you. So, emotional intelligence is extremely important at any stage and every stage of your career.
Alright, okay, so it's emotional intelligence and self-awareness. Actually, you need to be aware so you can,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
exactly. So yeah, like you said, you had to take time to self-reflect, and then you left, not like you left work, but you left work ongoing for other people to, take care of while you are, doing your self-work, right? So I need you to walk us through what you actually did to, come back strong and feel better. So what were those things you actually did?
So, some of the things I did was I had to establish my boundaries. And my boundaries were very intentional to not pick up the things that really were not my responsibility anymore. And that looked like not trying to be the problem solver all the time because that takes, when you're in problem solving mode, your brain is constantly working. And when your brain is going on, you can't really be paying attention to your emotional state. And that really exerts a lot of energy. So cutting back on the amount of energy I was exerting was one thing. Establishing boundaries about how much time I could spend and give to someone else, because when you are a good listener, when you are a good leader, people want to come to you and talk, process what they're going through. But I had to say, look, I have 10 minutes for you. I can't give you any more than 10 minutes. So if we can't get it done in 10 minutes, we need to schedule some other time. But I had to do that for myself and I had to honor that I can't talk for an hour right now with this person. I can only give them 10 minutes. And if I don't honor that for me, why should I expect somebody else to honor that? Something else that I had to do was I ended up getting myself an emotional support pet. I have a dog. He is 95 pounds now. But, I also wanted to have something cuddly and supportive and would get me out the house. You can't have a dog without going for a walk, right? You always have to go for a walk. So I started putting things in place that required me to get up and move and do something different besides stay in my bed and sit in my depression. So those are some of the things that I did.
Wow. So, okay. Setting boundaries and, getting
Mhm.
like an emotional support pet. Okay. All right. I took note of those ones. And yeah, you created the rooted framework to
Mhm.
guide transformation. So, can you explain what being rooted really means?
Being rooted really means recognizing your right to wellness. A lot of us live in a capitalistic society where hustle, hustle, hustle mode is always on. And so being able to reclaim your right to wellness says that, look, I can rest. I have to make time for rest. I have to create my boundaries. I can beautify myself and my home and things like that. I can beautify my space. But whatever wellness means for me, I have a right to that. I do not have to give myself over to a system that will burn me out. I have to reclaim my right. The O stands for observing systems. And so that means looking at the systems we have in place, looking at the processes to say whether or not they are supporting or hindering our progress and our wellness and our growth. The second O stands for observing systems and then owning your gifts. We all come to this earth with a special gift that is meant to be a part of the puzzle. And when we operate outside of our gifting, it makes life more challenging. It makes, work a little bit more boring. You're more likely to burn out when you're operating outside of that. And so being able to own your gifts is supportive of everyone's well-being. Tending to the collective means that we are all honoring that each one of us has something special to offer, and you are as important to this work as I am. So I need to acknowledge you.
Mm.
E is for evaluation, evidence, and beyond. And so that means that we're looking at data, but we're also learning to trust our instincts and our intuition when we're making decisions. And the D stands for design for sustainability. So how do we put things in place that will sustain our practices?
Right. Wow. You know, I've learned a lot, but I want us to, like quickly refrain, right? The R stand
Okay.
for okay.
Reclaim wellness,
Reclaim wellness.
reclaim wellness,
Okay.
observe systems,
Okay.
own your gifts, tend the collective, evidence and beyond, design for sustainability.
All right. Wow. Talking about this, right? I see people who don't, they don't consider these things before they go into maybe a business or a job, right? They just go into it because, like you said, the hustle culture, everybody just wants to
Hmm.
hustle, get money. They never really consider their wellness. So this could actually help people consider it. And talking about it, right? What part of this framework do you think like people struggle with the most?
Ooh, I would say a couple of areas. We've already talked about reclaiming wellness. I think most people struggle with that. But observing our systems is extremely, it gets neglected a lot, right? We keep running in these, we're it's like a hamster on a hamster wheel. We're on this track and we just keep on going. We're now observing our wellness, but we haven't changed anything around us to actually be successful in it. And so observing our systems, I think, gets skipped over a lot because we're either really focused on the people, really focused on the technology, but we're not putting things in place to streamline it or to make it more efficient and effective so that we can maintain our wellness and sustain our growth.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much for that one, actually. And yeah, you know, talking about like leadership and wellness, like we have been, right? So you talk about, building systems rooted in wellness. So why is wellness often overlooked in leadership and personal growth?
I think wellness is often overlooked because we are trying to earn money. I think it's overlooked because we are trying to achieve certain data points and metrics that our funders want us to have, or that the public is, or that we've committed to our stakeholders. And so we often skip over the people and the humanization of the work in order to get to the numbers. And you can't do those things. You have to honor that the people who are doing the work are actually the ones helping you to reach the goal. And so if you don't take care of the people, then your goals are going to reflect it. Your outcomes are going to reflect it. And so we just have to spend more time there and in order to really shift the way we're experiencing life and the workplace, and so that we're not in a toxic work environment. There's a lot of data. There was data a few years ago that said more than 50% of executives wanted to leave the workforce. There was data also showing that like a high percentage of professionals were taking leaves of absence because of their mental health and wellness. And so the data is showing that people are not feeling good, and we have to get to a place where people feel good so that they can show up and do well.
Exactly. Wow. I like the perspective you're coming from because many people don't often see it from this perspective, right? Like
Mm,
over here, the work culture is they believe you have to give in your best. They don't really care about wellness, right? The employee's wellness. No, they just believe you're about to do the numbers, get those digits going. Everybody come to work, no time for off, no time to think about your mental health, right? But the funny
hmm.
thing is, if we can switch things back, right? If we can,
Right.
start to consider these people and say, okay, you know what, go for just take 2 days off for your mental health, rest, and then if they feel better, would even get better results. That's what people don't know,
Right.
right? So I think
Right, right.
yeah, we'll get better results. And I think people should be aware of this, especially employers, right? And leaders also. They should know that your staffs also deserve all the self-care they could get and also wellness so that we all can build this organization. We can take it forward, right? So yeah, I do understand that one actually.
And even like as I'm listening to you talk, it makes me think about the amount of maternity leave and paternity leave that parents are afforded when they have a newborn, right? Here you get about 6 weeks.
Hmm.
I'm in New Jersey. I'm in the US. We get a few weeks, right? And so, excuse me, 12 weeks. We get 12 weeks. Now, that period of time, a baby is bonding. They need their parents nearby. And so imagine having to develop without your proper support system that young. Now you have someone who's already, like, we've already put the baby in hustle culture because the baby can't even get its needs met. They're busy letting go of their parents so their parents can go back to work. And so, we start off our children in a very unhealthy way. We start parenting in an unhealthy way because we're not available for the children who become the adults, who become the people who can't take care of themselves and are now leading organizations without their own right to self-care because all they know is we have to go back out and get this money.
Wow.
And
And
not
then
saying
it's
that
just,
money's not important. Money's
yeah.
important, but
All right. And this whole thing keeps passing down from generations to generations. And it needs to stop, right? It needs to stop.
mm-hmm,
Okay.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you so much. Actually, this has been, amazing. And finally, right, I want you to talk to, young adults there. Let's say for someone in their 20s who are trying to build a meaningful life, what should they
Mm-hmm.
focus on first? Is it purpose, healing, or, discipline? What should we focus on?
I would say focus on your discipline, right? I would say discipline is overarching because when you have the discipline, you will have the discipline for your wellness, right? You'll be disciplined to do that. And when you are disciplined about your wellness, you'll be able to cope with the stressors that you face. One of the things that I noticed, because I've hired a lot of what we call Gen Z, I've hired a lot of 20 somethings. And what I noticed is that the stress level, the ability to cope with stress, the threshold is very low. And so you have a lot of younger people who will go into a job and then they'll leave the job quickly because they don't know how to handle their stress. So you have to get into a place of discipline to know that in all aspects of your life, you have to be able to take care of yourself. You have to have the systems in place, like what is your time management? Are you spending way too much time scrolling on the internet, on social media? Are you spending enough time in community with the people that you love and that care about you? Like, how are you disciplined about your life so that when stress does present itself, you have the tools and the strategies and the consistency to stick to it and to still be healthy because you can't run away from everything that doesn't feel good.
Okay. Thank you so much for that one, actually. And it brings us to the final segment of my podcast. It's called the rapid fire segment. Right. So yeah, if you don't mind, we can start now. Okay.
You said the rapid fire session
Yeah,
segment.
yeah.
Okay.
All right. So what is one word that describes your 20s?
Free,
Ooh, okay.
free.
All right. What's a lesson that grief taught you?
Self-compassion.
Okay. All right. Healing or hustle?
Healing. But I'm a hustler. I got hustle in my blood. But I'm gonna say at this stage of my life, healing.
Yeah. Okay, all right. And what's a habit that, protects your peace?
What's a habit that I engage in to protect my peace? Mm, I will not answer my phone if I don't want to.
Hmm.
I
Wow.
don't feel obligated to talk to people.
Okay, I'm adopting that one actually. I'm taking that one. All right. And yeah, morning reflection or night reflection.
Night reflection.
Okay. All right. And yeah, finally, right, a book that changed your life.
Ooh, ooh, that's a tough one. I'm going to say my book. I'm going to say my
Oh,
book, New Leaf, Reflecting on Life's Transitions, because it utilizes tools to help my nervous system and to help me feel good and calm about myself and my transitions.
so yeah, thank you, Tashia, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you so much. This has been amazing. Thank you for, sharing meaningful, powerful insights with us because I personally have learned a lot and I hope my listeners can also, learn from this. And where can listeners get to know more about you and what you do?
So I'm on Instagram at Restoring Legacy, and you can also find me at my website, restoringlegacy.consulting.
Okay, all right. So thank you, Tashia. And to my audience,
Thank
thanks
you.
for tuning into Conversations with Sekani. If this episode sparked something in you, make sure to share to someone you think might need this. And also subscribe so you don't miss out on new episode. Thank you. I'll be following you on Instagram after this, by the way.
Thank you. It's
All
been
right.
lovely speaking with you, Sakani.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, and do have a wonderful day.
You too.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Bye-bye.